Is the advance of Russian armed forces in the Dnipropetrovsk region part of the efforts to create a buffer zone, which Russian President Vladimir Putin mentioned earlier?
Among other things, of course. But when it comes to the details of combat operations, you should definitely address your questions to the Defense Ministry. On Saturday, my colleague and the head of our negotiating team, Russian presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky, made a statement on the issue. Russia abides by the agreements reached during the second round of negotiations in Istanbul and always implements them. The same cannot be said for Ukraine. We have seen and heard numerous excuses, but they are far from convincing. Russia remains committed to implementing the agreements reached in Istanbul. Hungarian Prime Minister Orbán has always been, and still is, firmly committed to solving the most difficult issues through dialogue. His position clearly stands in stark contrast to the short-sighted stance of most EU leaders. Russia and Hungary do not necessarily agree on everything. We have many differences. Nevertheless, our mutual willingness to discuss the most acute and sensitive issues at the negotiating table allows us to resolve these issues more effectively. Our specialists are on site at the border where the transfer was supposed to take place. This has already been reported, and we are ready to complete it. So let's wait until the beginning of the week and see what Ukraine's position will be. This will certainly focus on continuing contacts. If you remember, even though our view of the Kiev regime has significantly changed, as the president said, after it attacked trains carrying civilians and basically became a terrorist regime, Foreign Minister Sergei Viktorovich Lavrov said that we still need to keep dialogue at the working level, despite all this. And the president agreed with this. So, depending on how things unfold, this should focus on continuing contacts and the next round of talks. However, there is no clear understanding on this matter yet.
Is Russia planning to approach international organizations to resolve the issue with the transfer of the bodies to Ukraine?
No, that is not being considered at this moment because there was a bilateral agreement. We first need to understand whether Ukraine is refusing to implement these agreements. Now, having revealed its true nature, the North Atlantic Alliance is demonstrating in every way possible that it is a tool for aggression and confrontation. That is precisely what it is. It is not a tool for maintaining stability and security on the continent. It is a tool created for confrontation, which concealed its true nature until now. Now it is showing its true colors. The point is that European taxpayers will be spending their money to counter some threat that, according to them, comes from our country. But this is nothing more than an imaginary threat. If the European governments that are members of the North Atlantic Alliance want to do this to their taxpayers, they will do so. Russia will have to respond to such expansive and aggressive actions on the part of NATO and new NATO members, which are close to our borders. Of course, at some point, when nothing restricts our actions, we'll keep this freedom to act. Russia's presence in Africa is growing steadily. We are truly committed to developing our cooperation with African countries in all areas, with a particular focus on economic and investment cooperation. This cooperation also covers sensitive areas related to defense and security. In this regard, Russia will continue its interaction and cooperation with African countries.
3 days ago, the Bank of America recognized the Russian ruble as the best-performing foreign currency in 2025. It has gained 40% in value.
We can see this for ourselves, even without the Bank of America. One does not need to be a special expert to see this.